Back. Okay, just to wrap up this economic thing, the one of the underwriters of our program is the Aiden Forecast, aidenforecast.com, and they do a weekly newsletter, or a kind of a weekly summary and a monthly big 12-page, detailed analysis of what's going on with the economy and, information for investors. And then a fellow who collaborates with them, Chuck Butler, does a daily newsletter called the Daily Pfennig, P-F-E-N-N-I-G, the German word for penny. And he's talking about a Minsky moment in bonds in today's newsletter. That, if you read the Aiden Forecast, you get this newsletter every day. And Hyman Minsky, who has passed away, brilliant economist, I know his son, and he came up with, a formula, as it were, and I'm probably mangling this because I'm not an expert on Hyman Minsky and what he did, but that basically describes how a collapse happens, and that has been referred to as it's coming into the common parlance, lexicon, as a Minsky moment. So here's Chuck Butler writing this morning. What would cause a Minsky moment in bonds? The U.S. Fed has been a very large bond buyer since the first round of quantitative easing began in 2009. And he points out that if you look at the Fed's balance sheet, they went from under $1 trillion in bonds that they were holding after around the time of the crash in 2008, the Bush crash. They went from that to over $4.6 trillion in bonds sitting on their balance sheet. Now, they bought these bonds in order to throw money into the economy. They pull the bonds out, they throw the cash in, right? So this is pouring money into the economy. This is called quantitative easing. And they said that there would be a tapering of this in 2015, and there was. They slowed down their purchases, but they continued to buy them. And then at the end of last year, 2017, they said in 2018, we're not going to buy any more bonds. And guess what? It's next year. So the Fed apparently isn't buying bonds. And he says the question is, who's going to take the Fed's place? Well, there has been no one to date, and the 10-year Treasury yield has risen from 2.05% on September 8 of last year to 2.65% on January 18. And that's just the beginning, he says, in my opinion. He said the Fed may not be the only no-show at the auction window. In other words, they might not just be the Fed who's not buying U.S. Treasuries. And he goes on to say China is considering slowing down the Treasury purchases or halting them altogether. And guess who else has been slowing down the Treasury purchases? Saudi Arabia and Russia. He says this is the Minsky moment for bonds, and no big central bank buying will drive yields much higher. It could be easily followed by another Minsky moment for stocks. This is Chuck Butler's comment. And then he says, this morning I saw this head of interest rate strategy at Wells Fargo saying the same thing. Michael Shoemaker's chief concern right now, who's going to buy all those extra Treasury bonds, Treasury notes? People are worried about Treasury issuance going up, up, up. Well, this is what's going to happen as a result of the $1.5 trillion, borrowing that the federal government has to do to support the GOP tax scam. I mean, we all discussed this, right? A month or so ago, the Republicans said, we're going to borrow $1.5 trillion and we're going to give that money to billionaires like the Koch brothers. And everybody was like, oh, no, we can't borrow. Oh, well, okay, I guess it's okay. That's kind of how the Republicans dealt with it, right? Oh, we don't like that. Oh, well, I guess we do. It's going to the Koch brothers, right? It's going to the Mercers. It's going to the billionaires, so it's fine. $1.5 trillion. $1,500 billion. $1,500,000 million. Anyhow, so the Treasury has to issue $1.5 trillion worth of bonds. The Fed is trying to unload $4.6 trillion worth of bonds. Russia, Saudi Arabia, and China are slowing down their bond purchases. This could do it. Maybe not. I'm a lousy forecaster on these things in terms of short-term time. If I was any better, I would have named the title, I would have given the title of my book, The Crash. Instead of The Crash of 2016, I would have titled it The Trash of 2020, just to cover all bets, right? But you never know. Oh, and this from extranewsfeed.com, the Nunes memo has been leaked. Well, maybe, sort of. This is actually it's a joke. but it's on the letterhead. You know, it looks all official. And memorandum to the great and honorable, munificent, glorious, and exalted excellency Donald J. Trump, President of the United States, restorer of democracy, freedom, and airline safety. From Chairman David Nunes, a.k.a. Noondog, regarding bias within the Democrat Party. Dearest Mr. President, it is with great sorrow that I report to you, leader of the free world, humble yet great man who is destined for Mount Rushmore, that there is partisanship being shown on the House Intelligence Committee by members of Hillary Clinton's Democrat Party. This bias has extended beyond the campaign and has infected our government, except for the parts you are overseeing. Specifically, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the Department of Justice, the Independent Counsel, the NFL, the Grammys, and the fake news media. I have prepared this nonpartisan memo for your eyes only. Plus, the Republicans on the House Intelligence Committee, Fox and Friends, Republicans with whom I have spoken while going deep undercover at the White House lawn, and Roger Stone. And it goes on from there. It's kind of funny.